Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of What's on My Desk. And today, yes, I'm going to talk about the fact that you can get a deal on Patek Philippe.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to start this Did I say what's on my desk? Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of What's on My Desk. Yeah, I'm actually going to start this What's on My Desk with what seems to be a Q&A because it's a question that came from one of my viewers by the name of Nikolai from Ukraine, my homeland. That's where I was born. Nikolai, or Koля as I would say it, he asked the following. Hey Roman, love what you do and I enjoy every one of your videos thoroughly. I've been a follower ever since the beginning. Thank you very much, Nikolai. You always mention and talk about these deals that are out there today in this crazy hot market of Patek, Rolex, Audemars Piguet, etc., etc. Would you mind sharing some of those deals with us? And that's exactly what I'm going to do on this What's on My Desk. And guys, please don't give me heat. This is going to sound like one of those,
oh, I'm trying to sell you these watches video.
But this came from a fan of mine, and come to think of it, there's so many deals out there today in this crazy watch of horology, and that you should be on the lookout for them. So I figured, you know what? Let me go down to the safe, grab what I feel are deals. I grabbed a few Pateks. I also grabbed a few other brands from Breguet, Vacheron, even Lange and IWC, which I deem to be deals just the same, just to give you a bit of a comparison.
I freaking love diversity.
If you guys have watched the market update video with me and Adrian, you will know where the market is and how crazy it is already. Again, on your major stuff, your Rolex, your AP, your Audemars Piguet, your Richard Milles. And speaking of Richard Milles, what I'm wearing on my wrist today is what's not a deal. Here's an RM11 titanium, retail price $140,000. Today, brand new, they're over $200,000. That's quite the opposite of what I'm trying to do here, but this is what I'm wearing, so oftentimes I forget to show you what's on my wrist. Now, I'm gonna pull up my website, just because I don't remember off the top of my head how much these things are listed for.
$100 billion.
I mean, I kind of know what the market price on them is, but in the very least, I want to give you exact examples. And what I'm going to kick things off with is a 5134R rose gold, which is a dual time from Patek. Retail price 29 and change, 29.2 to be exact. Now, here's your rose gold dual time. It's about as simple as it can get. One of the things I love about this particular watch is the ease of changing the time. It's reminiscent of that if you lease an Ardeen plus minus models, right? Like the GMT or the Executive, et cetera, et cetera. So very easy to change time, all while keeping your home time here at 12 o'clock. Beautiful exhibition back, manual wind, you get a deploying buckle with it, and a beautiful crocodile strap. 29.2 list. Patek doesn't really discount much. Pre-owned, we're selling this watch for $17,900. Seems like a pretty smoking deal to me.
It's amazing, Molly.
If you want to go further, I actually brought two of them. Here's another one. That one happens to be complete. This one happens to be without papers, right? Which obviously diminishes the value. How much does it diminish the value?
Give me your papers.
I apologize. The one without the papers is listed for $17,900. The one with papers is listed for $18,900, about a $1,000 difference. But nevertheless, still a deal. Let's move on to another Patek. Let's take this little guy. And I say little guy because it's 37 millimeters, but in reality it's not. This is an old annual calendar. This is a 5056, right? And this is in platinum with what I like to refer to as the chocolate dial. So here you have an annual calendar with a date, with a moon phase. It's just about a perpetual calendar. This is obviously minus the leap year, and the retail price was 60 plus because of the platinum metal. And today we're selling this watch for 35 grand, right? Again, annual calendar, platinum, Patek Philippe. Again, same beautiful exhibition back. This watch is an automatic. Probably the best looking dial on a dress Patek as far as I'm concerned. And for an annual calendar for a major brand, $36,000. Let me start putting this in perspective for you. A blue dial stainless steel Royal Oak today trades at $35,000. This is an annual calendar from Patek Philippe in platinum that trades for the same amount of money. You know, as I'm doing this, I want to put things in perspective for you. I can't think of a height watch. Oh, actually, no. Here's one for $18,000 or $19,000 in rose gold, dual time, again, from Patek Philippe, that trades at the same price as a Hulk or a Pepsi GMT, right? Pretty crazy, isn't it? Let's move right along. Another annual calendar. This is a newer one. This is a 5146, right? This guy is bigger, measures at 39 millimeter. Let me put the two of them side by side. There you have it, right? It's obviously bigger. Even though it's 2 millimeters, for some reason the 5146 seems to be much bigger. It's got a beautiful white dial, which to me It's somewhat of a cream dial, if you ask me. Again, automatic movement. They actually outfitted this guy with a deploying buckle. The earlier models, like the 5035 or the 5036, all those things they actually had a tang buckle, right? Original retail price on this watch was $43,000 and change, and today we're selling this thing for $26,000. Same realm as a plain Jane Royal Oak chrono from Audemars Piguet, and I keep referring to the hyper models just to put things in perspective, right? Let's move on to something a little bit bigger. Patek Philippe Grand Complications. This is a 5270, right? When I did a video at Adam, I showed you the 1518, right? The Perpetual Calendar Chrono. Well, this is what gave birth to guys like these, 5270 Perpetual Calendar Chronograph. So again, a full perpetual, right? Also shows you the leap year, unlike the annual calendars I just showed you. Look at the beautiful movement in the back. I have to show that off. This is just watch porn right here. I'm gonna set it down on the desk, on my desk, so you guys can get a better view. Look at that. I mean, is that, as I said, pure watch porn, right? From the Grand Complication series, retail price on this watch is $164,000. What are we selling this watch for? Slightly under $100,000. A watch that, if you go back to its predecessor, the 5970, that watch at one time fetched $50,000 over list, right? Along with its predecessor, the 3970, then the market kind of dropped in '08, and it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So the 5270s didn't do as well right out of the gate. Now, why is this thing so cheap? There's a catch here because this watch happens to be not complete. But even complete, you can still pick this watch up in the low 100s. Grand Comp from Patek, 100 grand. You would need two of these to buy one of these. And this is just a chronograph, right? This is how crazy the market is today. You're paying $100,000 for a stainless steel 5980 today, right? A chronograph versus a Grand Complication. And so when I say yes, there are deals out there on Patek Philippe out there, it's just a question of you guys sort of taking off the blinders of what media, specifically social media, pushes your way in regards to the hyper stuff, and see what's available out there. Don't be an impulse buyer when it comes to these things. I don't care if you're spending $18,000 or you're spending $100,000. People tend to still impulse buy in this watch of horology. People have FOMO, right? They come across a hype watch that everybody wants, and they tend to make a haste decision. That's what goes on with anything that's hype, right? I catch myself with FOMO sometimes and some of the stuff that I collect outside of the watch world, and I end up overpaying for the stuff, and I say to myself, you know what, if I would have done my research, there's another website that's selling it for 10% less. And when it comes to a significant purchase where you're spending thousands of dollars, right, you really want to take your time and see what your options out there. But I always say, at the end of the day, if you would rather have a 5980 stainless steel on a bracelet versus a Perpetual Calendar Chronograph Grand Complication from Patek, then that's what you go and buy. But just be aware of the options that are out there and available. Now, what else did I decide to do? I said, you know what, let me grab some other big brands and, you know, watches that are sort of in the same realm, which is a dressy watch, a complicated watch, right? And show you a few more things, right? So what I did is I brought a Perpetual Calendar from Breguet. This is a 3737 BA, where BA stands for yellow gold, and this is a full Perpetual Calendar automatic, a beautiful decorated rotor. Traditional Breguet, very, very classy looking Breguet, unmistakably a Breguet. You can see this from a mile away. And this indeed is a full Perpetual Calendar. Now, back when this watch was sold, it retailed for $47,500, but you also can't look at it that way. With older watches such as this, you have to ask yourself, what's a current Perpetual Calendar going for from Breguet? And they get up to $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 range, right? But even if you look at the original retail and consider that it was $47,500, and now we're selling this watch for $15,000, goes to show you what you can get for your money. So here's one from a very respectable brand. It's a full Perpetual Calendar automatic. It's a very complicated watch, yet the price on it is so, so cheap. Let's get somebody else into the mix. Let's get probably what I feel, and I own one of these in my collection, what I feel is probably the most iconic watches from International Watch Company, right?
He is a fashion icon.
It's a watch that's comparable to this Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar Chronograph, right? Let me show you this guy. Here's your Da Vinci Perpetual Chronograph, right? Now, I told you guys before, IWC historically has priced their watches cheaper because they made their own movements, production costs were cheaper, and they do line themselves up to be slightly cheaper than some of the other major guys out there. Nevertheless, this is as iconic as it gets. And you would think, oh my God, it's a Perpetual Calendar Chronograph. Is it close to that $100,000 that Patek Philippe is asking? Absolutely not, because right out of the gate, the retails on these were, I'm not going to quote, this is a very old watch. I don't remember what it was. I guess this watch is not even listed on the website yet, but we have a comparable one listed on a bracelet, which we're selling for $16,000. So I would imagine this thing would be somewhere around $13,000, $14,000. Iconic piece, IWC. I think it's a gorgeous watch, personally. Is this something you would rather put on your wrist, or would you go with a Submariner versus something like this in stainless steel? You know, jury's kind of still out on that. Again, and you guys feel free to comment below. There's going to be a million rebuttals in regards to something being hotter, this being old news and things of that nature. But I'm simply looking at values. And by the way, I just found that Perpetual IWC that I showed you is listed online. It's listed for $11,000. So it's less than price of a Submariner. New Submariners right now are, we just sold a brand new Submariner for $12,500. Let's talk about Vacheron. Here's a Vacheron Cuir de Lille. I actually showed you guys one of these watches on What's on My Desk a while back. This isn't the same watch. It looks like it's the same watch, but remember, this was part of the Vacheron's idea of having the watches customized. So the one I showed you, the top part was actually rose gold, and the sides were stainless steel and titanium, right? So here's a Vacheron Constantin Cuir de Lille. So this is actually palladium and rose gold. So this is not quite an annual calendar, but this is a day-date watch with a power reserve. It's right under that annual calendar complication. Original retail price was $51,500, and today we're selling that watch for $22,000. Again, here's one that's part of the Holy Trinity, right? Way less than half price, about 60% off its original retail price. This is a nice large watch too. I mean, this thing is beautiful on the wrist. I have to show you this. This is listed at 41 millimeters, but this watch wears a lot bigger than 41 millimeters. Look at that. I mean, I'm just going to put it in comparison. Let's take the Patek, right? Which is one of the larger Pateks out there. Look at that. Fully automatic day-date watch, power reserve from Vacheron. Last but not least, I did bring it. Oh, right off the bat, before I even tell you what the model is, you'll notice this Lange is on a bracelet. They made very, very few Langes on a bracelet. You get out there today and try to find Lange on a bracelet. There's not that many of them out there. And the reason for that is because they were never really a big bracelet company. So this Saxonia, which was made on the original bracelet, right? I think the retail price was upwards, again, $50,000 to $60,000. Again, it's an older watch, but nevertheless, it's pretty rare. This is a manual time-only watch. It's as classic as it gets from Lange Sohne. The bracelet is extremely comfortable. It's sort of that mesh bracelet that you can mesh, for lack of a better word, right? Let me throw this thing on my wrist. So you'll sort of get an idea of how it sits on the wrist. I always like the Lange bracelets because you feel the bracelet. This is a heavy bracelet, right? This thing is 37 millimeters, it's a small watch, but yet you feel the weight, and mostly you feel the entire weight of the bracelet around your entire wrist. Oftentimes watches are going to be top heavy, right? And even though it's on a bracelet, you don't necessarily feel the bracelet as much, but because of the way this bracelet hugs your wrist, it almost feels like you're wearing just a bracelet. So again, in this watch, in its heyday, you'd be hard pressed to pick up any Lange for less than $30,000 to $40,000, and we're selling this guy for like 19 grand, just under $20,000. Pretty major rare watch, an old gold watch. Don't let me get into gold Royal Oak chronos that are trading at $50,000, $60,000, or a 15202 in rose gold that trades for upwards of $75,000 today, right? Technically a comparable watch, because this is not a very complicated watch, but the fact that a lot of people don't realize how rare the bracelet pieces are from Lange, and those that do, you know, they find these deals and they sort of put them away. There are some watches on my desk today that I would tell you, buy them, stick them away somewhere. You'll reap the rewards years from now, but I don't believe in that. I don't think watches are an investment, but I will go back and reiterate the following point. I always mention these things like, oh, this is trading for this, but you can buy so much more for the money, and so on and so forth. And I could have made this episode to be an hour long. I could have brought another 15 watches. Maybe I'll do another episode such as this if you guys kind of like this format. But lo and behold, it's all about taking off the blinders, right? And I always say the same thing. Now, follow me here. This is very important.
Right there. You following me, camera guy?
Don't fall into the trap of buying something just because you know that it's been hyped up on Instagram, YouTube, or what have you. Do it only consciously. If this is what you consciously want, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it so long as you consciously realizing that this is what you want. You want the hype. But don't be the guy to fall into hype, and there's the difference, right? I gave you guys the analogy before. I don't care who you are, right? If you buy yourself a fancy sports car, be it a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, or a Porsche, or stuff like that, 99.999% of you, not just buying it for the fact it's got good performance, you're also buying it because it's a head turner. And same thing happens with hype watches. If you walk into a room wearing a Richard Mille, it's going to be a head turner, and there's nothing wrong with that. I told you my first watch was a Rolex, and I paid $1,100 for it, and I walked into the room with my wrist walking in first and me walking in after, because I wanted everybody to know I have a Rolex on my wrist, right?
I'm kind of a big deal.
Just explore your options. There's plenty of deals out there. The reason I brought major brands like Vacheron, IWC, and Lange, and Breguet is to show you that it doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy some unpopular brand, right? Like a Romain Jerome right now, which is dead in the water. But I wanted to stick to major brands, you know, proven brands, brands that are still popular till this day. Maybe some of the models in this lineup are not the hype models. In case of Vacheron, it's not an overseas, right? In case of IWC, it's not a bronze pilot or something of that nature. In case of Patek, it's not a Nautilus. And as far as Lange, I mean, don't really have any standout models. I mean, their model lineup is pretty even key, you know. The steel model they came out with would be that hype piece today, but for the most part, they're pretty even key. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I would love to get your feedback on this. So comment below, let me know your thoughts. Think deep inside yourself and ask yourself a question. Hype aside, Instagram aside, and everything else aside, what would you rather have? Again, Nikolai, thank you for that question. It allowed me to cheaply plug my website. And the watches that we're selling, of course, that wasn't the purpose of this video, so I appreciate you guys sticking around. And again, as always, you know what to do. Like this video if you enjoy the content. Subscribe to my channel if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, because that's important to me. And last but not least, share this content with your friends or those that you think may enjoy this, because this is what helps my channel grow organically. Other than that, guys, I'll see you next week for more watch reviews and other videos.